Hey, this is Scott Kokenauer with Serving Strong. We are involved in exclusive interviews with subject matter experts, pastors, leaders, and I've got a tremendous guest with me today, and I'm eager to get started. So I'm going to jump right into it. His name is Thomas McDaniels, and Tom, thank you for joining us today.
Glad to be a part, Scott, and thank you for having me. And also, but when you call me an expert, that's very questionable.
Okay, well, in the transcript, expert is in quotes, so
gotcha. Perfect.
So, and so what we're going to do is we're going to just talk a little bit about your story, and it ultimately this is for the leader or the pastor or the husband, the wife. If you're leading anything and you're discouraged right now with everything that's going on, that's kind of the theme of what we're talking about today. So, but to get started, tell us about what was it like growing up as a child?
Great childhood for me, Scott. My midlife wasn't, my teenage years and my 20s weren't great, but my childhood was just absolutely phenomenal. I mean, we were the typical American Christian family, that back when I was raised in the 60s and 70s. Everybody knew each other. We played I was raised in Indiana, so I was kind of born on a basketball court, kind of. And I love that. Just typical neighborhood where everybody played together. Everybody knew each other. The neighbors spanked each other's kids, that kind of thing. Mother was a Christian. Dad was not a believer. My father came to Christ later in life. In fact, as I led him to the Lord in his 70s. And so that was a great experience. But we had just a great life. Just neighborhood school, walk to school, 3 blocks. Just a typical American family. My mother's been in the same church for 50 years. So it's very different from life today.
Yeah. So she's still in Indiana, right?
She's actually in Southern Illinois, which is right across the border from where we were raised. She lives 11 miles from where I was raised.
Okay.
Yes. She's alive and well. She's almost, she's 85. And percolating along quite well. So
good for her. So
but really great. I mean, we were taught we got spanked for lying and cheating and stealing, and that was the worst thing you could do in our home. And the golden rule was everything. And mother said something to me beneficial one time. She said, if I let you fight as kids, you'll fight as adults. So I don't let you fight as kids. And I thought, that really made sense. And I have 3 siblings, and we're super close today. So
good. What's your fondest childhood memory?
My fondest memory?
Yeah.
Again, life was simple. Daily values were huge with me. Nighttime prayer with my mother, on our knees by the bed. Kind of, again, sounds very traditional, and I sound very old. But the truth of the matter is, evening meals together, neighborhood connection, riding our bikes all over town. I was raised in the town of 7,000. So, we went from north end to south end. Those values mean so much to me. Again, it sounds old, but it was really valuable.
That's awesome. So it's no secret that we're living in some extremely turbulent times. I mean, everybody knows what I'm talking about. I don't have to say it, but I'm going to. The pandemic, the political division, the racial unrest. You've been a pastor for over 100 years.
Yeah, just about.
You've seen turbulent times in the past, right? Probably not to this extreme. I don't know. But how do these current circumstances compare to what you've been through?
I would have to say, the most overused word we've had in the last 12 months has been unprecedented. I really do believe we are in totally unprecedented times, as you know, and we've never seen times like this. All I can say is very challenging, very hard. I think COVID has made it the underlying tension. And so then we have, everyday life. Like last night, my evening last night was with a 30-year-old. His father's in ICU on a ventilator, and then he's got 3 kids. He has a job. He's, the job's pressure, the kids are pressure, the father's about to. So we have everyday life, which was hard enough before COVID. And
Right.
now we have COVID-19, which gets into death, aloneness, isolation.
Mhm.
I've never seen nothing like it, never experienced nothing like it. My time is spent um, working with people who are hurting and broken. And we've lost several members in our church to COVID, not just older, mature saints, but young ones as well, even some in their 40s. So,
Mm.
we've never seen times like this. I haven't seen times like this. Churches haven't seen times like this. The church is okay
Mhm.
financially, but we run 40%. It makes everything different. I'm used
Yeah.
to having a room full of capacity. Our services were always full. I mean, Sunday morning we were 1/3 full, second service. So
Mhm.
it's different than it's ever been, and I think we have to learn how to be flexible in the season, not relying upon our own, the things we're prone and used to. I think we have to learn
Yeah.
to be flexible.
Yeah.
There's bright lights, but there's tough stories.
What keeps you motivated?
Well, I've had the I'll say the privilege and the God's grace on me to pray. This is my studio / prayer room, and
Mm.
it's actually in my attic of my house, and I put
Okay.
the room in, and so the first thing I do every morning is find this place of prayer, which I did this morning at 5:30 in the morning. Again, that sounds old, but
Yeah.
I've done that for 36 years. I've been a man of prayer. I've been a man of faith. I love my calling. I love what I do. I don't have a job. I have a calling and a purpose. That's changed a lot this year. But at the same time, the changes haven't thrown me off course. It's just doing more of the same thing with the same passion, only doing it a different way and in different methods, but the mission is the same. So prayer motivates me. Solitude is really a motivator for me. As long as I get my morning prayer time in, my solitude, my word, I could roll all day in social settings.
Mhm.
Without that, I'm not as social. Um, that's kind of the way I roll. I mean, I got a whole lot more to say on that if you want some more, but I don't want to
Well,
talk too long.
there are two things that you pointed out that are really um, interesting. Number one, the definition of excellence is becoming the fullest expression of your unique God-given design.
Yes, yes.
It's a matter of uh, getting clear on how you have been designed and being immersed day after day after day, expressing that.
Yes,
Um,
yes.
and I think for that would be true of a pastor, a leader, any occupation. What I think was really interesting is you said it's not a job, it's a calling.
Yeah,
And that's typically what we hear pastors say, but it's
yeah.
true all across the board. And to me, that's the definition of excellence. The other thing, and those of you who have followed me um, recently, you have heard me say how important reflection is. If you are in a responsible position to lead other individuals and you do not have a moment that you have reflection, then you're opening yourself up to being slammed against the wall and
Yeah,
never saw it coming.
yeah.
And so I appreciate those two things. You having a calling. In other words, you are fully expressing, or you're working toward the full expression of your unique God-given design, and you're beginning the day. You have a cadence where you are reflecting. That's
Yes.
powerful. That's really powerful.
It is powerful. I think, again, that starts, it kind of starts, the night before. I think it starts with
Mhm.
pre-schedule. I think it starts with, what your motives are for the day, what your day looks like. I'm an open door. When I'm at the office, my door is open. It's rarely closed. I do my reflection, my preparation for staff, people, interruptions. I can't get anything done at the office. I mean, you just can't. You know that if you,
Mhm.
for us that are leaders, our alone time is our creative time. The Holy Spirit is the one who creates for us and through us. And so, when I go to the office, I'm prepared to be social, to be open. I start my day by going to bed early, to preparing myself to get up early. Sleep is important to me. Rest is important to me. At my age, didn't used to be. I used to sleep 4 or 5 hours. Of course, typical pro pastor, type A, choleric personality. I can do it all. And, in the last 15 years, I've learned I can't do it all. I've learned that it starts that my strength comes from God. And then my ministry is as good as my marriage. So my marriage is strong. I've always said my ministry is only as good as my marriage. And so, when it comes to God, Holy Spirit, and my wife, I'm in pretty good shape. Thank God for that.
Yeah. Well, rest, it's interesting. What you were saying, that I'm totally resonating with you. There's a principle that I picked up years ago that it's stuck with me. And that is, we don't rest from our work. We work from our rest.
Right.
So the beginning of a day starts the night before.
Yes, that's it.
That's very powerful.
But the last hour of my evening is I try typically, if I'm working in the evening, and I do, I believe you make a living 9 to 5 and you make a life 5 to 9. So, I really believe that the last hour of the evening, at 9 o'clock, I shut down. No matter what I'm doing. Like last night, I was writing blogs for a fasting thing we're doing, and 9 o'clock came, and it's like, okay, I got to shut it down. I grab my Bible. I start my day the next day, the night before. And so I've learned that in the last 10 or 15 years as well. It's a strength. And that's the way the Jews started their day. The Sabbath was that way. It was 6 the day before to 6 the day. So, I think we can learn from that.
Yeah. And those are really good routines that I was going to talk with you about anyway, which you just kind of, you played right into that. I noticed while you were talking, you are uniquely positioned between the word grace and gratitude.
I've never noticed that.
That's really
awesome.
Cool. What a metaphor.
Let me do that. That's awesome.
Grace and gratitude. I love it.
Hey, that's awesome. Thanks, Scott. I'll receive
that. Is that a scale behind you, or what is the? Oh no, that's a clock. That's a
clock, and that's a globe over there in the corner. Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah, grace and gratitude. You don't have to say anything. Just sit there. There you go. There's a great thing.
I'm just resonating, grace and gratitude.
That's right. Well, so for the discouraged leader,
yes,
you mentioned some of the change. The change isn't the topic anymore. That is a given.
Right. It's the accelerator, right?
Yeah. It's more, what do we do? How do we respond? How do we react? How do we be proactive in the midst of change, unprecedented change? If you had the floor, which I'm going to give you, what would you tell a discouraged leader who is listening to this episode? What's your advice?
Well, I think it's really important to find your fuel. What fuels you. Some guys, that's 18 holes with God on a golf course. Another guy, that's flying a plane. So I think we have to make sure we're not subject to the signs of the times or the struggles of the times. I think we have to keep ourselves fueled. First of all, for me, that's God. And that sounds religious, but it's actually not. It's relational driven. It's prayer. It's God's word. I'm a big believer in transformed, a renewed mind. So trying not to think your own thoughts, resisting those things, exchanging your thoughts for God's thoughts. All those are big with me. But I would say find your fuel. What fuels you? What drives you? I think, again, pastoring is different than it was. Now, more than prophetic gifting or using your gifts to show who you are. I think loving your people, standing with them, returning your phone calls, being involved, checking, we spend time, we've got 50 people with COVID. We're making calls, checking on families. I think you got to find what fuels you. I'm a pastor at heart, preacher second. I love to preach. I used to think I was going to be the Stephen Furtick of 1985, and I never was that. And I thought God promised me 5,000, and He told me to be faithful with 5, and so I ended up at about 1,000 member church, which is I'm thankful for. But I used to be, let me preach, let me do something great. Let me say now let me be something great. Let me be something great for others. Let me return my calls faithfully. Let me love my wife. Let me, be in the chamber with God, and let me find that's my fuel. That's my fuel. So I would say find your fuel, and I hope that's God. And then I would say, again, I'll go back to marriage. So make sure that's fresh. And then I would say process your pain with a mentor. Whether that's your best friend, deeper than your wife. All I'm saying is somebody outside of your wife or your spouse. Get that mentor, process your pain. And even I would suggest if you don't have a mentor, get to a counselor, share your struggles, because it is very discouraging. And if we let it, the enemy, we're just open ground right now for the enemy to destroy us.
Absolutely. Yeah. Good. Well, Thomas, what do you got on the horizon? I know you've written, right? You've Thomas.
Yeah, well, I'm learning to write. I planned about 30 years ago to the last 10 years of my life, I decided I was going to write. So I'm learning to write. I actually thought I knew how, which was, I thought, man, I'll just write, in the last 10 years of my life. Then I realized I didn't know how at all. And so I've actually been taking writing classes. I started a blog, a fresh, new, relevant blog a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
I've been writing for Fox News some when called upon. I write for Charisma magazine.
Okay.
But mainly I'm writing to my niche, which is my family, my friends, and my blog page. I just released a book. Fact is, I released a book this morning on Amazon, which I don't want to necessarily promote, but
that's okay. I want you to.
It's called Overcoming Bondage and Fear, and so it's on Amazon. Today's the first day, so it's just a simple, book on overcoming is kind of my whole theme. I'm writing a series of books called Overcoming on 9 different topics. I'm releasing those 3 at a time. The first book came out this morning, so that wasn't on purpose because I was with you. That just happened. So anyway, it's really I'm learning how to write. And so I'm planning on spending the last 10 or 15 years of my life as a writer, pastor, helping my son finish the journey with our church. My son we're in succession of our church right now. That just started this year. So we're in month 1 of that. And so that's where I'm headed, and wanting to be a resource to pastors, teachers, and others.
Beautiful. Okay. So I put up on the screen here a picture of thomasmcdaniels.com, and there's the book. So yeah, this is great stuff, Thomas. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for sharing a little bit about your childhood, a little bit about how you were raised, and more importantly, and most importantly, the words that you shared for the discouraged leader, the find your fuel and process your pain.
Yes.
Things that you can hang on to as you hang up from this, however you're watching or listening to this episode. Find your fuel, process your pain. Thomas, thank you. I hope you have a great week.
Thank you, Scott. I enjoyed being with you, and thank you for your audience as well. And if I can ever serve you, let me know.
Okay. All right.
God bless.
We'll talk to you later.
Yes, sir.
Okay.